Sorry, I was just choking on some water there. I was on mute. Hey, Scott, welcome. Good afternoon. Good to see you. Or good that you're here. How are you?
I'm good.
All right, beautiful. Well, look, so Scott's a real life friend of mine, right? Our kids go to school together. We're actually going into business together. So just to kind of set the stage. And by the way, if anyone's got a problem with me streaming this, let me know and I'll cancel the stream. But Scott's someone I know in real life. He is or has been a long time D&D player. We've talked about this a bunch of times, but it's just never worked out us getting a game in. And Tim is someone that's been in chat forever now. I think like 2 years plus, right? And so Tim's been a great proponent, like great editor, right? Like just giving a ton of feedback on the game and what works and what doesn't. He's always been awesome. So I just really wanted to get a game in with him because he's played with Matt and he played through Matt's Alcatraz campaign that we're wrapping up, and that's what you heard us just saying when you joined, Scott. We're just wrapping that campaign. We can play every Monday night. So we're just wrapping that campaign up. So Tim knows the game and has played with Matt, but I just really wanted to play with Tim and give you a session as well. So that's kind of how we're here. And then Grumpy Battersby has been like the closest thing I've had to a co-conspirator on this, or a co-creator, right? So Matt's been playing this. We ran into each other in a Judge Dredd game like 3 years ago, kind of became friends like online. He's been just instrumental in getting Distemper to where it is. And you're going to see a ton of stuff in Roll20. Tim's already seen it, but Matt has really done a ton of cool stuff in Roll20 for this game. So he's in New Zealand, so he does a bit of time travel because it's Wednesday afternoon, or Tuesday afternoon for us here, and it's like Wednesday mid-morning there or something for Matt. So he does this weird, but it's been awesome. So that's kind of like, just wanted to explain to you three so that you all knew who the other one was. That all makes sense?
Yeah, very cool.
All right, beautiful. So look, jumping in again, I some of this is just to kind of set the stage. I sent you guys links to some handouts, right? And the handouts have a bunch of information in your character sheets. They're also in the journal, right? So if you're, are you in? Hey, so let me send you the link, Scott. There's a Roll20 link for this.
I'm in here. Yeah, I'm in. I guess it linked me to Distemper King's Crossroads.
Yeah, that's the one. That's the one.
Okay. And how am I'll be honest, I don't use Roll20.
Okay.
That often. Am I able to just join in on you guys?
Yeah, do you see something that says launch game?
Yeah.
All right, perfect. So hit launch game.
Oh, all right.
Ah, you're in, beautiful. All right, Scott. So look, if you don't know Roll20 all that well, let me just kind of direct you to a couple of things. So you see along the on the right, there's like a white bar, correct, or like a white kind of chat area.
Yep.
So along the top, you should see a couple of icons there, right? And the third one should say journal. So if you click journal,
okay,
you should then be able to see.
Second one.
Say that again.
Second one.
Second one.
It's the second one. Yeah. Third one for GM. Second one for.
All right, beautiful. Thank you, Matt.
I've got third because I've got art library after. Anyway, I'm in it. I see it.
Ah, he's got GM as well. Okay.
Interesting. All right, so let me just set some of this up. All right, so in there you'll see the world you're living in. You'll see what you know for sure, and then you should see some character cards, right? So I'm just going through and making sure the character cards are all configured correctly at the moment because I didn't know what your ID was going to be, Scott, or who you were going to be. I should have guessed it was just Frankenstein. So let me just get this set up. All right, so let me just set the scene. Let me ask a question. Had you guys had an opportunity to read through the handout or look at the handout, or should I just explain what's going on in the world?
Like setting the scene, I've read through it and familiar with at least the world.
All right, beautiful. And Tim, again, like I feel that you're an old hand at this because you've run through this a couple of times. So let me just put you in. All right, beautiful. So a bunch of you have been waiting out the pandemic, right? And I think you should all be able to see. Let me just confirm. Yep, you can all see the map of where we are, right? So this little X that kind of is in the border just between Delaware and Maryland is this is where David's farm is, right? So David Battersby is a farmer. He knew a bunch of people. As the pandemic took hold, people started taking refuge on his farm, right? And so, that's how Marv knew him. That's how Gus knows him. They've both done some work for him and his wife. So on the farm, excuse me, everything's been going well for the last year or so, right? Everything's been kind of like going along just swimmingly, or maybe 7 or 8 months. But one of the tractors broke recently, right? So you've been pretty self-sufficient. You've been able to be self-sufficient because of again, David having this farm and kind of welcoming you on board. But he needs some help, right? So he knows of a garage, and the garage is just a little bit north, right? So you should be able to see where I'm pinging now, hopefully.
Tony, we're not on that page.
Which page are you on?
We're still... actually, no, you are. I'm not. Sorry, my bad.
Okay, yeah.
I'm going to try and rejoin as a player and then see if that works.
Okay.
Yeah, it should.
Because I think I have access.
So Tim and Scott, can you see where I'm pinging at the moment? Can you see that ping? All right, beautiful. So you guys are heading north, right? And so, you stopped and looted one house along the way, and loot might be a strong word for it, but you stopped along the way. And, David had said to you, hey, if we find anywhere that, looks like it might have some, untouched, and we might be able to ransack it and take some, like, tinned goods or batteries or toilet paper or anything that kind of, like, that would be useful to you. So David suggested that, but it was really fucking depressing, right? You kind of stopped at one house. It was just miserable, right? You kind of went through. It feels very much like you're looting dead bodies. So after that one house, you all decided just to get to the move on and kind of head to the garage, right? So this is where you've pulled up, right? So this truck here is David's truck. So you can see the garage. The garage looks fairly quiet. And let's just assume that, before you've even pulled in, let's have you off map a little bit, right? You can see where I'm pinging down here. Let's pretend that the truck's just off map a little bit. What are you guys doing?
We haven't seen, so it's been, when you say dead, there hasn't been a single soul, right?
Correct. You haven't seen anyone in months, right? This has been, this is March, right, where you are at the moment. You haven't seen anybody else since before Christmas, right? So it's been like 4 or 5 months since you, and nobody's even left the farm in the last couple of months. You've been self-sufficient enough, and you've, ransacked enough houses. So yeah, there's been zero signs of life for the last 40 minutes as you've driven towards this, this workshop, or this garage with a workshop where David thinks there's an arc welder.
For me, I think I'd want to make sure, first of all, just that there's no dogs. I think that's probably a pretty important distinction. So, or no signs of life here.
So let's have you.
Can I just scan the surrounding area or listen for any life that isn't the standard animal life?
Sure. So if you see in the Roll20 screen, you should see, and I don't have the name tags on, but you should be able to see your character, Gus, right? Is the character's the closest to the top of the card. Do you see that?
Yep.
So if you hold down the Alt key and double click that, you'll get a character sheet that comes up.
Yeah, I've got my character sheet.
All right, beautiful. So down the left where you've got your attributes, reason, acumen, and this is an old character sheet, but reason, acumen, physicality. If you look in acumen, one of the skills is perception. So if you guys can click that red box next to perception, you'll see it'll do an automatic dice roll for you in chat.
I don't actually have a character sheet. I've just got like a handout with my character.
Oh, no.
Yeah, I guess I got my character card. My character sheet's not pulling up for me.
Then we're good. We'll do this manually, right? So in chat, type. So the way to read a character card is if you look at the skills you've got, right? So in this case, Marv, you've got perception, right? You'll see in brackets next to that, there's the name of the attribute, right? So it's acumen. So for Marv, it's two. You get +2 for acumen, and you get +1 for perception. So it's a total of +3 to a 2d6 roll, and you're trying to get above 6. So in chat is /R 2d6 +3. Beautiful. 9 is the success, right? So over 9, and you've been successful. So Gus, do you see your character sheet, or Scott, do you see your character sheet?
Yep. Yeah. So it looks like I've got a +3 too because I got 1 to acumen and
Beautiful.
2 to perception.
Yeah, you saw nothing. Like, it looks pretty quiet to you. So kind of running through this, and Matt really hates perception as a skill, so I'm sure he's rolling his eyes at me. So Matt, can you roll your perception check just so I can kind of bring the group up to speed?
Just looking at. Okay, so I do not have perception. I just have. No. I have my eyes closed.
So it looks super quiet from where you are, right? So, Tim, you feel that you can kind of see enough sunshine floating through the building and kind of, get enough of a view of the lay of the land where you feel pretty confident about it. David, like, there's mud on your windscreen. You don't really notice anything. Gus, you're sitting in the back of the truck. You don't really notice anything either. It looks kind of quiet to you guys. But again, Marv, you really feel like you've got a good lay of the land. So you feel it. You don't just... It doesn't feel quiet. You've really looked around and you get the sense that it is quiet as you're approaching.
Yeah, nothing to worry about. Just chill out. We'll be in and out in no time. What could go wrong, fellas?
Alright. I guess I'll hop out of the bed of the truck.
Yeah, that's the only picture I had. I was pretending there's a comic that goes with this, and it's a 2-seater truck, so you weren't riding quite exposed like you're a dog. You were actually in the back seat, but you can get out and be more comfortable and stretch those legs.
Yeah.
So, looking at the gas station, right? So, obviously, I'm sure Matt's rolling his eyes at me. I couldn't remember how to do dynamic lighting and fog of war, so I just went with the good old-fashioned, just like squares that you can't see through. So,
Quick and dirty.
exactly right? So, the stuff that's obvious as you get out of the car, right? So, there's what looks to be an abandoned car here. You can't really see well enough. But that bike doesn't look quite like it's been abandoned. And in fact, Marv or Tim, you think you can see one of the the gas lines leading from this pump that's actually attached to the bike, right? So it looks like somebody may have been filling up and just abandoned the thing. And then what you can see here is that this is a gas station, right? This looks like a mini mart. And then David points to this and says, this is the workshop, right? So there's a big, like a roller in front that you're not going to be able to get through without, cracking into and making a ton of noise. And then over here, what looks like to be the entrance to the mini-mart. What are you guys up to?
Well, we're here for an arc welder, right? I don't want to stay any longer than necessary. So, I guess can I peek my head inside the garage?
Absolutely. Hold on, let me just look at these. You should be able to move those tokens. Can you see if you can grab your token and move them?
No, it's static for me.
All right, hold on. So Battersby can. Let me just fix this for really quick. All right, Scott, can you try moving yours again?
Oh yeah, there we go.
And Tim, you should be able to move yours as well now. Sorry about that delay. All right, so one last thing. Can you alt and double click on that character? Because now the character sheet that Matt created should come up.
There it is.
There it is. Yep, perfect.
All right, so let's just to walk you through how this works. So if you look at acumen, and there's perception next to acumen. So if you click the red button next to acumen, it'll make a little check for you that will come up into chat. Oh, and if it asks you for a C mod, just press OK. The health I left out. Hold on. So you should be like try that again, Scott. If you can double click your character sheet. Sorry, I didn't get enough time to really configure this properly today.
You're good, no worries. So let's see here.
And then press perception again, because you were linked to a different character.
Yeah,
But I keep getting
The
attribute was found.
Not to worry, I've screwed this up, so we're just going to keep playing manually, right? So, Battersby and Marv, can you figure out, like, Scott's already, like, Gus is already head up. He's standing right now. This is the end of a roller blind, right? So, again, one of those big kind of mechanized garage doors that you find in a workshop. So, Marv and David, can you figure out where you're going to be or how you're heading towards the garage?
Marv starts wandering over towards the car, looking at that bike. But there's a
in the garage and getting the arc welder right. Oops.
Okay.
So if I've been here before, do I know the layout of the place?
Yeah. So you know that there's a front door here. You remember there being like a fire escape or something at the back, like both the mini mart and the garage or the workshop has some kind of fire escape, and then there's the door. But you're pretty familiar, right? I mean, this was somewhere that you came to get mechanical parts every now and then. And again, you're in the boonies in Delaware, right? There aren't that many places, so this was kind of one of the closer places that would sell you that kind of equipment. And the owner used to order parts for you if you needed them.
I'll tell the other two that the guy was a bit of a stickler for locking up, but there's a back door that's probably easier to break into than the big front one.
Okay.
So, hey, Tim, can you have Marv make another perception, make a scavenge check, sorry.
Sure, let me see. Scavenge.
That's under acumen. Oh, beautiful. So, yeah, you find a couple of common items, like whatever you'd want in there, right? So you said a pack of smokes. There's a pack of smokes, right? And, you know, Marv's there's complications and motivations, right? And Marv is hedonism, right? So you find a can of beer in there, right? So your eyes just light up because there's a pack of smokes and there's a can of beer on the floor, and the beer's not going to expire for a good while yet. So this feels like a glorious day for you.
Somebody find an ice machine in there and it's a party.
That could well be the case. Like, the power's still on for large areas, right? So that could very well be the case that you'd be able to, there might be an ice machine still working in it. The soda machine might be on. And, like, one last thing, because you succeeded in your perception check earlier, looking over at the bike doesn't have the same layer of dust and grime that this car has, right? If you had to guess, this car was left here like 6 months ago or more because it's just been left in the open, right? That bike looks a lot cleaner. And again, there's a gas line going to it. What are you up to next?
Yeah, I'm gonna check.
So the bike's cold, right? I mean, it's not like the bike has been on, right? Like, as you touch it, but there is a pipe going to it, right? And it doesn't have that same level of grime around it. And if you had to guess, you know, this bike's probably, you wouldn't think this had been here any more than maybe 4 or 5 days, right? The outside, like, I mean, it's still kind of fresh enough. And it does strike you as a little bit weird that the gas pipe, it's almost like whoever left this, like, ran away quickly, right? Or kind of like just abandoned the freaking thing. Because it's just, again, unusual that you'd have that there, you know?
I want to kind of stay posted up on this corner since we're splitting up a little bit. So if David's going around to the back, I'll stay kind of right here so I can keep an eye on Marv.
Oh, beautiful. Marv's got his, if you look in chat. Marv, Matt, do you know why it's not working for the others? Oh, it's working for Tim.
I'm literally doing it now.
Oh, you're awesome.
Sorry, I was trying not to interrupt you.
Now it's working for me.
Yeah.
You're friggin' awesome. All right, so chat, Scott, if you look in chat, this is what Matt's coded, right? And there's ways I'll explain to you, but you can alter these dice rolls, right? And in fact, let me just explain that really quick as we're getting into the territory of making dice or rolling dice. So if you open up your character sheet, sorry, if you alt and double click, so you open up your proper character sheet, the full one, you'll see. There's a bunch of hexes over on the far right. Do you see that? It's like a box with a bunch of hexes in it. One of them says Distemper, and it's got a 2 next to it and a drop down that says none. There's these got renamed in an iteration, but you get these when you roll a double 1 or a double 6, right? So there's gradations of success. So 3 or less is a dire failure. It's not just a failure, but like your gun jammed or your gun broke or a grenade went off in your hand or something. 4 till 8 is just a failure. 9 till 13 is just a success. And then 14 and above is what's called a wild success, where something goes in your favor, right? So you're fighting with someone, they fall and crack their head on the ground, that kind of thing. If you get a double 1 or a double 6, it's a moment of insight, and things still go terribly wrong or go perfectly right, but you get what's called an insight dice. These insight dice, you can do things with them. So let me show you. So Marv, and I think you know this, but in the chat where it says Marv Calhoun Perception, click the 2, and it'll ask you if you want to re-roll that dice. So one of the uses of insight dice is if you get a shitty roll, you can re-roll one of your dice. You can also substitute it before you roll a dice, and you can say, hey, I'm going to make this a 3d6 dice pool instead of 2d6. Or you can say, hey, I'm going to take a +3 modifier on this next dice roll. So it's no vagaries, right? I know exactly what I'm getting. So you both have 2 wild dice. Sorry, 2 insight dice. Christ, this is like the 4th iteration of the name, and I can't keep them straight. You get these insight dice. You have 2 now, and you'll get more if you ever get a double 1 or a double 6. So again, before we really get into the dice roll, just know you have a way of manipulating the dice rolls before, during, and after the dice roll, but it will cost you one of these dice. That all make sense?
Yep.
All right, beautiful. All right, so Marv, you're over at the bike. You've made your assessment there. Gus, you're kind of like watching in the corner just to see what's going on. David, you're round at the back. What are you doing?
To see whether the shonky owner left it open.
So that's a fire escape, right? So it's locked and it's closed, right? So from the inside, you'd just be able to press that black metal bar in the middle and the door would open. But from the outside, you're either going to have to jimmy it open or you're going to have to like lockpick it. So either break into it or try and find something if you could figure out a way of cracking this door open and circumventing the fire, the fire security aspect of it. Make sense?
Yeah. Would I have known this? I tell you what, I'll use this as a descriptive thing. I'm going to use one of my insight dice.
Ooh.
And bend reality. I don't have any insight dice according to the thing, but I'm going to assume I have to.
You do.
Sorry. I'll use my insight dice. I'll bend reality and just say, hey, look, people have ravaged this place a little, but not too much. And there's a nice big crowbar down here next to the pump where people have sort of tried to pull off and directly hack into the fuel cells here to get petrol for their cars and stuff. So I want to use bend reality and pick up a crowbar to be able to use on the back doors.
Ah, beautiful. So to your point, right, someone's tried to break in here previously, right, and take the gas out of this tank. So there is a crowbar. Someone's also tried to break this door in. So make a physicality check with a +2 conditional modifier. And again, for Tim and for Alex and for Scott, So you get 3 potential modifiers on every dice. You can get a modifier for your attributes, you can get a modifier for your skills, and there's a conditional modifier, which is like karma or circumstances, right? So trying to scale a wall in the middle of the night in pouring rain, be a negative modifier. At a time like this, because someone's already tried to break the door in and he's found a crowbar, he gets a +2 modifier because it's significantly easier. The target range never changes, it's always 9. And look at that. You weak old man.
Yeah, well, that's what age does for you, you know?
I know, mate.
You have these good ideas, but you just can't necessarily put them in practice.
Frail and grumpy, I like it.
I'll whisper out to Gus to come and give me a hand around the corner after I've tried it once and failed.
Alright, I'll give him so I'll move over and give him a hand.
All right, beautiful. So this is where we would make a group check, right? And again, I love Matt. He's helping me run through all of the systems, right? So group check, what we do is this is a physicality check, right? So there's no real skills that would help with this, right? I mean, this is really just like a matter of strength, right? And so what we do is whoever has the highest physicality makes the roll. You get a +1 conditional modifier for everyone helping with the roll, and you also take any of their modifiers into account, right? So what this all sums up to mean is, Gus, let me check your character sheet. What is your physicality?
+2 in physicality.
There you go. You beat David, who has, I think, a +1. Correct, David?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it would be +2. +1 for David being there, and +1 modifier for David helping. So 2d6 +4, please, Scott. And if you
do it from the character sheet now.
You absolutely can. So alt and double click. Thank you, Matt, for that reminder.
Yep.
On your character sheet, underneath where you saw Distemper dice, you see where it says group check?
Yes.
So click group check. And Matt, actually, how does this work? I haven't GM'd this since. Like, how does the group check part work?
Yep, just click on group check and then hit physicality. That's it. And then on the right hand side in the chat
Beautiful.
now, do roll group check.
Okay.
And then shit's pants, apparently.
Oh my god, this
so
API, so twitchy.
Yeah, well, it is and it isn't. I don't think Gus has been set up the sort of standard way, so let me just roll it from the other point.
Oh yeah, Matt, I totally did this while I was on a conference call today, realizing I had like an hour left before we were playing, so I totally fucking kludged it together. My apologies.
That's all right. So it's 2d6 +4. You said?
Yep. Beautiful, it's a 9. So between the two of you, you crack it open, right? So let me just move this. Alright. So you can now see inside the workshop, right? So over here there is the arc welder you've been looking for. There's a bunch of tools. These are all work shelves or workbenches kind of all around the outside. And, David, you knew the owner of this place. Again, you're on kind of like friendly enough terms with him. This was his pickup truck, right? In rural area in Delaware. So anyone that broke down, they'd call this guy and he'd tow them to his garage and he'd do some work for them here. So you guys are in here, excuse me, and you've got kind of like right away, you can kind of like root around and see what you want to do.
Well, David, where's the roll-up, or is there control for the roll-up door? Okay, so I'm going to move over there and open up the roll-up door so that we've got an easier way to get out.
So as the doors start rolling up, it's making a bit of noise. Can you both make a perception check for me? Oh, uncheck group check on your character.
Okay, I see it.
Thank you.
Oh, and no attributes. Okay, cool. So it's just a +2.
Yeah, that door's. Yeah, you're an old man. Again, you're an old man. It's /R.
Oh, I did the wrong.
Yep.
Wrong operation. There we go.
Scott, just so you know, if you hit on the up arrow key, it'll give you the last thing you did, so you can just change the last roll you did Make it easier
Good
for you
enough.
than
Thank you.
typing it in each time.
All right. So the doors. Hey Marv, what are you up to, by the way? This has been a good 5 minutes, right? So this kind of covers the time you were rummaging about, and you'd looked at the. So you finished making your assessment of the bike just as this roller door starts going up. So Marv, what are you up to?
Does Marv see the keys for the bike around?
Yeah, the keys are in the engine.
Ah, perfect. All right, I'm gonna grab the keys and stick them in my pocket.
Okay.
I'll turn around. What are you guys making all this noise for? I thought we were supposed to be quiet. Start heading back over. They got the place open.
So, just as the door finishes going up, again, Marv's heading towards you. What are Gus and David planning on doing next?
Well, I want to grab the arc welder and just move it straight into the pickup if I can.
So it's over here, right? So you absolutely can. And as you're moving towards the arc welder, like Marv's coming towards you, the door goes up, you turn around to walk to it. This door over here, which leads into the gas station, this opens and somebody comes out, right? So, excuse me. This fella's standing in the doorway, right? He's early 30s, he's fairly stocky, he looks like he's in pretty good shape. He's got tattoos on his arms, and he's very clearly got a revolver on a holster on his belt. He kind of comes through. He looks non-threatening, right? I mean, he obviously heard that the noise was happening. He comes out and he's got his kind of hands up, so he's obviously trying to appear non-threatening to you guys as he comes through the doorway. What do you guys want to do?
So we've been on this farm together for like 4 months, right? So
Yeah.
we kind of know each other pretty well at
Yep.
this point. Can I do hold on.
Can you do what, Scott?
Sorry, I'm just looking at my things here. Yeah, can I do a subtle hand gesture to Marv to kind of move toward the door to the mini mart or something, just so that we're not not quite so close and entwined, and if there is anyone else in the shop, he might be able to catch them before they come out.
Yeah, you absolutely can. So that would be, there is a skill that covers it. I just don't think you have it as Gus. So it's under, oh, you do actually. So if you look under dexterity, if you open your character sheet, there's, yeah, exactly. So, and have a +1. So when the box comes up and asks if there's a modifier, put 1 in that box and we'll give you a +1 C mod, because there's a lot going on, and you choose the moment when this fella's looking over at David, who's in the corner. That's the moment you choose to signal to Marv.
Okay, I'm just gonna have to roll. So it would be a +3 then, all told.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm gonna go ahead and use one of my insight dice.
Okay, beautiful. So do you want to re-roll one of the dice in there?
Yeah.
So roll a d6, and then we'll just change out one of those 2s.
Drum roll. Yeah.
That's better.
Beautiful, beautiful. So you're able to do it, right? And great use of the inside dice there, Scott. So you're able to do it, right? So Marv, as you're walking towards them, and I'm sure Matt will be relieved to hear me say there's no perception check on this, right? So Marv, you see, as the door goes up and as Marv's walking towards it, you see Gus pivot away from you, like his attention's obviously been taken by something, and then you see a hand gesture brushing you away and kind of indicating, like Gus had said, that he wants you to kind of head up towards the door, up this way. All right, so this guy seems friendly enough, right? This guy, again, he's non-threatening, and this guy is like, hey, what a weird coincidence. I've been riding around. I haven't seen anyone in weeks, and then I'm here, and you turn up at this gas station, and he just kind of laughs, and he's like, what are the chances of that, huh?
Yeah, pretty crazy, man.
Really is, huh? So let me walk you through. Hey, David, what are you doing, by the way? Are you staying in the corner so you can make a quick exit? Because an old man will need all the space he can get, or are you moving up?
No, I'm staying next to the door because I'm not outrunning a fit young guy, and it keeps me at big right angles to Gus. So the guy's got to keep looking backwards and forwards.
Okay, beautiful. So hey, listen. So again, Matt's coded this, but I want to try some of this like almost the old-fashioned way, right? So there's a couple of social systems. Like combat is really brutal in this game by design, right? So you're unlikely to survive a couple of hits, and it could take days or weeks to recover from it, right? And there's lasting wounds, and this is not a combat. It's a combat heavy system in its way, but like full on straight on combat will get you killed, and it's no good, right? So there's a bunch of different social systems. So one of them is first impressions, right? So we've got to see what impression you make on this guy, and then you guys will get like a gut instinct check and see how you feel about him, right? So the first thing we do, hold on one second. There's no character for my NPC. All right, sorry, Matt, I evidently screwed up. So it is what we do. So making a first impression check. If you open up your character sheet, we're looking for something like, charm, deception, inspiration, intimidation, just good old flash and influence. One of those skills that you would use to create a good first impression as you're talking to him, right? And it could be intimidation, it could be deception, whatever you want it to be. And David, same for you, right? So if you guys have got a united approach, right? Like if Marv decided to want to intimidate him and David totally got on board with it, you can make a group check to determine your first impression on him. But again, unless you've got kind of like a hive mind, these will be individual checks.
Yeah, David is letting Gus do what?
Unfortunately, Gus has no influence modifiers other than animal handling. So, I guess I'll go with, he seems friendly enough, I guess I'll go with charm.
Cool. So, make a charm check.
Okay.
And there's no C mods on this, so it's just, your influence, whatever your influence attribute is, and then your charm attribute. Yeah, so this really means that, you can tell, right? If you can tell from the way you kind of like come at this wasn't your best welcome, right? You know what I mean? Like you kind of like a little bit too soon or a little bit too aggressive or however you'd kind of think about it, but you don't feel like you created your best first impression there, right? So, David, are you doing one as well?
Yeah, I'm going to do bartering because I'm going to...
Oh, look at that. That was a moment. Beautiful. You look at the screen. That was actually a moment of low insight because he got a double 1. So even though he failed, he's still got an insight dice, which is, again, it's called Distemper dice in there, but it's an insight dice that he could, if he wanted to, he could use to re-roll one of those ones now, right? It's still super unlikely given the odds that he'd get above a 9, but you can use those immediately if you get a Distemper dice on a roll, if you get a moment of high insight or low insight. Make sense?
Right.
So, David, you also, like, maybe it's him, right? I mean, maybe it's this guy, right? I mean, you both created a bad first impression. So let's have you both, like, do gut instincts, right? To see kind of, like, how you feel about this guy, right? Kind of what impression he's given to you when you first talked to him. So, and hey, one last thing. Some of the skills I'm about to mention may not be on your character sheet because Matt's been good enough to keep programming and roll 20 when I go through iterations of this. So there's some skills that are in the most recent one that weren't in the last one. So look at your character sheet. Use something like perception or psychology or streetwise or acumen. See what you think you can take out of this guy. And again, just it's a 2d6 roll plus your modifier.
So what's going to be my modifier for this?
Oh, so again, your perception, psychology, streetwise, or acumen. That would be the modifier.
Oh, sorry, yeah, okay.
No C mod. Sorry, I should have been clearer.
Yeah. Flailing.
Yeah.
Choice.
You don't really know what to make of him, David. Like, as you look at him, you're kind of like, yeah, like there's. Again, you sense that you've made not the best first impression on him, but your gut instincts, like, you don't really know how to read him or what to take of him. Marv and
Hold on here. I'm
Gus. Oh, very nice.
Nice.
That's a good roll.
That was a beautiful roll. So yeah, I so as you look at him, as you kind of think about him, I mean, he seems, he's got his arms up. He could be coming out here with a gun. Like, I mean, he's got the gun open. He doesn't seem to be trying to hide anything. So your gut instinct towards him is like, it's fairly positive, right? I mean, like, the guy doesn't seem to be a threat. Like, he's come out again. Like, there's no body language cues that you consciously or subconsciously pick up that he's being threatening. The only thing that, again, catches your note is the... A, he's tattooed and, you may have some prejudices or not against that. And B, he's obviously armed, right? But other than that, like, you don't get a terrible first impression of him. Who was that? That was Marv as well. Fantastic. Marv had Actually, Marv, I don't know why you're rolling. Like, you can't see the guy. You're walking around. So, in fact, Marv, why don't you enter the building? Because you've kind of used this time while these guys are introducing themselves. You've been walking up here. So why don't you enter? Let me pull this... All right, there you go. So you should be able to come into the store now. There's a the pink area is what looks like a staff area or something, and the rest of this looks like a mini mart. So you can see the back of this guy, right? And there's obviously some toilets and just general stuff down here. So you can see that like this door is still open right behind him, and you can see that he's completely unaware that you're there, but he's obviously talking to the guys in your group. So Marv, make a quick perception check for me. Yeah, you see a bag, right? So there's actually a bag here on the counter, if I'm pinging correctly. Yeah, so there's a bag on the counter, and it's got, like, next to it, there's a stockpile of stuff, right? So it looks like if this backpack is his, your assumption is that he stumbled upon this gas station and he's been looking through the shelves and taken all the instant noodles and anything else that might keep or be useful or whatever. And he seems to have piled it all up on this counter next to a backpack. What are you guys going to do next?
Gotcha. Okay. I'm just going to be being sneaky, trying not to let him hear me. I'm going to sneak over and check this back room before he notices me.
Hey, make a stealth roll and take a +1 C mod because he's actually in another room. The door's open, but he's talking to other people.
Can I reasonably assume that Marv is doing something out there? So to the point of, do I want to keep this guy's attention?
I would say that's kind of up to you, right? You haven't seen anyone for months. This guy's at the gas station. He doesn't seem to be threatening, but you are surprised, right? I mean, again, it's just weird to see. And here's the other thing: it's only a year, or roughly since the pandemic started. So anyone you meet could be infected, right? So you have all these kind of like paranoias and sensitivities anytime you run into someone new. But what he was doing in the garage, you really couldn't say. But it does seem like a logical jump. That's his bike outside as well.
All right. I want to keep this guy's attention on me just because I already waved Marv away.
Beautiful.
So, I've got. Can I make a scholar check on his tattoos? See if I recognize any of them.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
Okay.
Oh, beautiful. So, from watching enough like PBS and like Netflix dramas, Gus knows that they kind of look like prison tattoos or gang tattoos, right? These aren't kind of like works of art that have like some symbology and meaning behind them. Like, this is just a collection of shitty tattoos that's running up the side of his neck to his face and all up and down his arms. So again, like from your guess. And Matt, this would be general knowledge in the new system. Like, Scholar no longer exists, right? So I think this would be general knowledge. So this is, you can make a good guess that he's either been in prison or he's a gang member.
Okay. So yeah, can I just say something like just nice ink?
He looks down. He's still got his hands up, right? So he kind of, his hands are up in a gesture of like surrender or like non-threatening. And he looks from side to side and he kind of makes a joke at you and says, "What, these gun shows?" and flexes his muscle and then starts laughing, right? So he's got this kind of like easygoing nature. He does this kind of like, it doesn't feel very fake. It's just like he's laughing at his own dumb jokes, but he seems to be taking your compliment about the ink and then flattering himself by showing you his arms.
I just kind of half-heartedly flex my own arms at my sides and be like, "Yeah, you got me beat."
So, David, what are you doing while Gus is having this little interchange with this fella?
Yeah, David's not so interested in the gun show. He
Old weak man.
I'm going to throw a question at the guy that's there and say, has he seen, try and throw him off. I'm just going to say, has he seen the guy that owns the place, and use the guy's name? And hopefully he's read some of the bills or something like that might have the guy's name on it.
Yeah, so
The guy is alive, and we've already done a deal to take what we need.
So, the guy's name is Errol, right? And again, Errol and his wife Mavis, they owned this store for like 40 years, right? So you haven't seen them for a long time, right? But you can easily throw out like, you had a deal with Errol or whatever and see if this guy reacts to it. Because you do know enough to be sincere and like you know enough to know whether or not he knows who this person is. So what are you saying to him?
So I'm just saying, if you've seen Errol, he should be around here. We're just picking up.
Yeah, again,
and has he done a deal like we have for some supplies?
He says, "Yeah, I haven't done a deal." He says, I'm just keeping going, right? He said, after all the shit that went down last year, he said, like, I have no interest in stopping anywhere. He said, so that bike outside, that's mine. He said that, I just keep moving around. I find somewhere like this. I spend a couple of nights. If there's anything inside, I eat it, I take on, I keep moving. I'm going to keep doing that. Gas is starting to spoil, but that's my plan, is to keep going. So no, I don't have a deal with anyone, but he kind of like smiles and like you get a sense of like it's almost like the hard edge beneath it. But he says, "But here's the thing: I was here first, so the stuff in here. I could probably make a good argument that this is all my stuff in here. So let's stop there. Hey, Marv, what are you doing? Right? Because up there, you're in the break room, right? You can see, an instant noodle that's still coming steam out of it that's like sitting on that table that's in the middle of the room, right? So if you had to guess, like this guy was in here eating when you guys started making the noise and coming through the fire escape and walked down, because it looks like he's been sitting here. Make sense?
Sure, yeah.
What is your plan? Or what are you doing?
I'm gonna continue sneaking and try to just get up here like between these shelves, just hide and listen to them talk. I'll start pulling my gun out just in case things go sideways, but I'll let the two in there take the lead.
All right, so let's just do this in case it does get to combat. So double click on your character sheet, and then over on the right you'll see the combat actions, and you'll see one of them says ready weapon. There you go. So click your light pistol. All right, beautiful. So as we're not in combat, this is all just free actions, right? And then make a stealth check. No C modifiers or no conditional modifiers this time. Just make a stealth check and head on down. Beautiful. So you're able to get, like however close you want to get to it, right? If you want to be here, just, and again, obviously so he doesn't see you, but you're able to get close enough to get within earshot. And you get there just in time to hear him make that kind of proclamation that, from his perspective, he can make a pretty good case that everything in this gas station is his. So back over to you three. What is your reaction to that? And again, he's saying this with a smile. There's not a threat, but there is the hard edge beneath it, right? Like, this is a tough-looking guy with prison tattoos that's got a gun who's saying, like, well, maybe everything in here is mine. So how are you guys reacting to this? What are you planning on doing?
Can I try to reason with him, be like, that arc welder over there is the only thing we're here for. You can't fit that on your bike. mind if we take it out of here and leave you to everything else?
Make whichever check you want, like barter, charm, deception, inspiration, just good old-fashioned influence. Because of your role earlier, because of your relationship... Actually, let me just go back and double-check this. So you didn't make a good... Okay, so you'd have a negative 1 C mod to this, right? Because, again, you felt you created a bit of a negative impression, or you felt a little bit startled or whatever. So make your check, make your case to him.
Okay.
Yeah.
If I use one of my insight dice, what else can I do with the insight dice?
So at this stage, all you can do is re-roll one of the dice, right? So previous to a roll, you can add a third dice to the pool, right? Which would be the same effect now, right? If you re-roll a dice, it's the equivalent of having 3, right? But you could also add a +3 C mod to any dice roll, right? So there's no vagaries. You go into it knowing, hey, I got +3 plus my natural abilities, whatever. Make sense?
I see. Okay. Shit. All right. Well, I'm not going to use that one right now.
So he kind of shuts you down. So tell me again what you were saying.
I was just trying to say that arc welder isn't going to fit on the back of this bike, and that's the only thing we really need here. If we could take that and go, he can help himself to whatever else is here.
So he kind of looks around and he's like, yeah, the thing is, you're right. I don't really want that arc welder, but it's mine. I got here yesterday. And then he kind of smiles at you and says, but you know what I do want? He said, I told you, I've been driving around and I'm just tired, right? He said, I've been driving around for the last 6 or 7 months. He said, you people are the first people I've seen for a while. You look pretty healthy. You all look pretty well fed. How about you take me back to wherever you're sleeping? Why don't you take me back to wherever you're from and feed me? And then I'll just give all of this to you stuff. And I'll give it to you now, right? I won't give it to you tomorrow. Just take me with you, right? You take whatever you want out of here. I'll follow you back. You feed me for a couple of days and we'll call it square. What do you think?
Well, I don't know how to answer. I'm going to let David give his answer because that's his farm.
David is unhappy with this. If David will explain, if we're talking on a first come first serve basis, then Bernie, the guy that owns the place, and this guy is stealing his stuff. So.
All right, so this guy says to you,
we've already done a deal the way he wants to do business, so he's going to have to. I'm pretending that Ernie is still alive. Yeah, not that he's dead. He's just not here at the moment, and we were expecting to see him.
So he kind of looks at you, and he feels like he's. As you look at him, he's kind of staring backwards and forwards to you and Gus, and it's almost like he just said something in a foreign language and you didn't fully understand him, right? So he looks much more serious, as he says, "All right, let's try this again," right? So I'm gonna use this as an opportunity to check another of the game systems, which is negotiation, right? So he says flat out to you. Excuse me. He says flat out. He said, "All right, we've got a good old-fashioned negotiation here. I feel that I own all of this place. Feels to me like you want to take one of the pieces of equipment I've got, so I'd like to make my case to you." So he starts talking and he says, in fact, let me do this roll. I don't have a character sheet for him, so I can do GM rolls, but I just wanted to do this. So, he says to you, I know I've been driving around this area for weeks. I have a really good sense of what's around in this space. He said, I grew up around bikes. So if you're here for an arc welder, strikes me that you're probably doing some mechanical work. And he puts his hands up and he does almost jazz hands. And he says, you could put these hands to work. And then he says, the other thing is anyone comes threatening, he kind of looks down at his pistol and he says, I could probably be some good muscle for you, right? So this is his opening gambit to you guys, right? Now, he seems really desperate, right? I mean, as he's making this case, like, neither of you get the warm and fuzzies, right? That this was a really well put together case, right? And so just so you know what happened, again, there's a roll that goes with this. I rolled it offline so you wouldn't see it in chat. He got a total of 3, right? So it was actually a dire failure, right? So his offer is just so non-compelling to you guys, right? I mean, he's basically saying, hey, I'm kind of dangerous, and if you take me back to your place, maybe I'll be like a pet snake that'll be nice to you. So he's made this opening gambit, right? I mean, if you want to do a counter negotiation, you can. But this was just a horrible thing that he said to you, right? It just came across really wrong, where, like, you'd have to be almost crazy to want to take this guy back to your base, or the farm.
David will say, I've got a counter offer to you. You take this, and he'll flip him the bird. And we'll take the thing. You can deal with Errol when he comes back. And we'll just leave you here, and you just help yourself to whatever's here. How about that?
Yeah, he really doesn't like that, right? And he looks at you and he says, you kind of look smart, old man, with those glasses, but you must be really fucking dumb to take that approach. So we're going to move to initiative now, right? Because this is, David flipping him off. I hadn't necessarily thought we would get to combat, but it looks like we're getting to combat pretty quickly, right? So if you click, when you click your character, the token, are you guys getting the toolbar along the top?
Yes.
Yeah, they are.
All right, let me get everyone into combat mode.
Do you want me to
I think I did that right. Let's see.
start combat?
Oh yeah. Okay. Sorry. Yeah. Start combat for the whole party.
And then
Yep.
you'll need to highlight the guys.
Yep. And add to combat.
Yeah. So start combat, and it says, do you want to do it for the whole party? Click no.
Okay.
But highlight all of the guys.
Okay.
Highlight the 3 guys. You can't highlight yourself because you're not a real guy.
Yep. There we go. All right. That didn't belch. All right. So if you guys click on initiative in the top, you should have initiative in your along the top in that toolbar. Yeah.
No, hold on, I'll do it. Me. Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, I think I screwed this up with the way I created that character. So we'll do it. If you can't figure this out straight away, we'll just move to doing it the old-fashioned way.
Okay, well, let's go. 1, 2, 3.
Oh, I may have done it. You may have done it. All right, so
yeah, it's Gus. We can't do Gus and we can't do you.
all right, perfect. So we'll do this the old-fashioned way, right? So if you open up your character sheets, or actually, can you guys all see your character cards, like rather than your character sheets? If you look in your journal, do you all see your character cards?
Yeah.
All right, perfect. And also in that handout that I sent through to you. So if you look on the secondary, right, if you look at the character card on the right side in the blue area, you've got an initiative modifier, right? So roll 2d6 and add that initiative modifier, and then let me know what the scores are. Oh, actually, I should see them in chat. Hey, David, did you do one?
No, hold on, sorry. 2, sorry, 5. Well, that was worth it, wasn't it?
Again, slow, weak, doddering old man. I love it. All right, so Hey, Marv, you're actually up first, right? And hey, I should say this: that character's only 9 years older than I am in real life, right? So I'm just kind of like really ragging on myself when I say this shit. But anyway, so Marv and this guy in the doorway both go simultaneously, right? So just because Marv's behind him, I'm gonna let Marv go first, and then it's Marv, this guy, Gus, and then David.
Yeah, as soon as things start getting up, Marv is gonna take a run at the guy. He's gonna try to dash around and basically just tackle the guy from behind.
So you have your gun ready. Are you planning on actually physically tackling him, or are you going to put like your gun to his temple, or what are you going to do?
No, I'm gonna try to physically tackle him. Hopefully, end up on top of him with my gun before he can draw.
Oh, beautiful. All right, so make whatever Marv has, like unarmed combat, or wouldn't count as melee. I'd also take athletics if you've got athletics. If not, just good old-fashioned physicality.
Unarmed combat, yeah, we'll do that.
All right, beautiful. Oh, Tim, take a +2 conditional modifier. Oh, geez, okay. You just got a wild success there, right? Because I would have given you a +2 there as well, simply because it was completely unaware of you coming, right? So not only did you knock him, but there's like 3 or 4 stairs, right? Kind of here where you guys are in the workshop. There's like 3 or 4 stairs leading down to like the concrete floor. So you come up behind him and hit this guy with such force that he kind of like runs forward and like bangs his head into the side of the truck, right? So he's now going to be he's not stunned, but you've effectively pushed him to the end of the initiative kind of like checklist, right, or the initiative list, because you really took him by surprise there. So I'm going to say that was both of your actions, because there's, if you look in your handbook, there's a move called Charge, which is using both of your actions and then doing an unarmed attack. So that would have either been a move and an attack, but it sounds more likely you used all of your momentum to fucking push this guy down the stairs and have him go headfirst into the tires or the wheels. Make sense?
Perfect. I set him up, fellas.
You did. So again, like, Gus, it's over to you, and then David, it's over to you.
Okay. I guess I'm gonna move up to him and try to. Try to grapple him.
Okay. So perfect. So move your token over to him.
Yeah. And I'm actually going to try to pin him up against the truck, because I'm assuming his back is to me, or like to he's facing the truck, right?
Correct. Yeah. So you could absolutely do that.
I'm trying to pin him up against the truck.
All right. Beautiful.
All right.
So this is an opposed check, right? So I'll be making an opposing check. So this is unarmed combat, right? So any physicality modifier plus any unarmed combat, add that to a D6 or 2D6, and also, just because of the sequence of events, a +2 conditional modifier on top of anything else you've got, because you're going at him from behind as Marv just like pushed him down to the stairs into the truck. So you absolutely have the opportunity to kind of like, grapple him in unopposed almost, Nice. So opposed checks is one of the few times in the game when it's actually just numerical, right? Everything else is usually a gradation of success. So he has a 1 physicality and a 1 unarmed combat, so he gets a +2. But I'm also going to give him a -1, which is like a compliment to your +2, just because he's not expecting to be grappled and wrestled and that kind of shit, right? Especially having just been pushed down the stairs. So, oh wait, I rolled down the wrong thing. He's not really a bad smell. Actually, same roll. It doesn't matter. I'm just doing it from the wrong character. So he's unable to resist you, right? So his opposed check failed. So you really do have him like pushed up against the tire and completely at your mercy. So David, over to you.
gun does David have?
He has a shotgun. He's the only one of you that's... Oh, I guess Marv has a gun as well, but David has his farming shotgun that he uses for farming.
Oh, that's not very much use now.
Well, it depends what you mean. There's a nice big butt on it if you're planning on knocking him unconscious, and it has a big barrel if you're intending on threatening him. So it really depends what you mean by useless.
Well, firing it from here is not going to be good. How far can I move?
You know, just given what's going on, you can move between him and Gus, because his movement is going to be seeing if he can free himself from Gus, right? So over the course of the next, 30, whatever, like 6 to 10 seconds, whatever it is, you'd actually be able to use both of your moves to get pretty close. All right, beautiful.
Yeah, okay. In which case, click barrel of gun at head as he's struggling.
Yeah. So let me just, in the interest of like fairness, let me just kind of roll this. Because you were getting to him as he was kind of like, as he was getting his action, right? So you get there just as he's breaking free of Gus, right? So, going into the next round, excuse me, your gun is going to the barrel of his head, or his barrel is going to his temple just as we go into the next round.
Sure.
All right. Everybody gets to roll initiative again.
Well, reliable.
All right, beautiful. So, is that the same order? It's the same order, but what did you get, Matt? You got 9. All right, beautiful. All right, so it's Marv, then Gus, and then David, and this guy are going simultaneously. So, Marv, over to you. What do you're still chuckling to yourself at an almost comedic way that he went flying down those stairs. What are you planning on doing next?
Yeah, I'm just gonna walk up and dogpile him. We've already got one guy on him. I'm gonna go over, try to just grab his hands and wrench him behind his back.
All right, beautiful. So let's one move would be the motion down there to him, and then let's have you make an unarmed combat to help with the grapple, and this will be an opposed check again. But you'd get, given that he's got a gun to his head, Gus is taking another run at him. You'd probably get a +2 C mod on this grappling attempt.
Right on. All right.
Yeah, you. This is like watching one of those bad videos I watch on YouTube when I can't sleep, right? You're like a cop that just comes up behind some like semi-innocent perp and picks him up and slams him on his head, right? So this guy gets no move this action. I mean, let's have you roll damage, right? So unarmed combat is 1d3 plus physicality plus unarmed combat. So more or less the same roll, actually. But it's 100% resilience. Wait, did you... Oh, okay, perfect. So I was going to say, did you just get another wild success? Because I looked away and then looked back. So, all right.
5 damage.
All right. So this guy, an element of combat is if you take more than half of your resilience point total, you have to make a panic. You have to make a panic save essentially, right, to make sure that you just don't flip out because suddenly so much damage has been done to you. So because that was a fairly nasty attack that you just did there. Again, this fucker's just been slammed on his head. Despite having been in prison, he's still not loving this. So let me just make a quick check for him. He really has nothing that would help with it. I guess streetwise. I'm going to allow it, Your Honor. So he gets 2d6. +1 for streetwise, but -2 because he's surrounded by all of you guys. So he manages to hold it together, right? So he, as you can see in the window, and again, I'm typing in the wrong window. He's not really a bad smell, but good enough for these purposes. So he doesn't have a panic attack, but he is kind of screwed this round, right? So as a consequence to you getting that wild success, he gets no actions this round, right? So he's losing both of his actions because of the way you just so brutalized him. So he's on the ground. Marv just slammed him on his head. Marv, who's a bit of a sadist, burst into laughter. Think of him as a less handsome Jason Momoa, right? I mean, just like an ugly person that laughs a lot when he's being brutal. So he's giggling at that. Gus and David, what are you doing? This guy's crumpled on the floor trying to stand up. What are you two doing?
Can I step on him to kind of just, again, tether him in place?
Oh yeah, so make another grapple attempt here, but a +3 C mod on this because he's barely standing up, so you wouldn't really have too much of a trouble doing this.
Actually, no, I'm sorry, I don't want to do that. Does he? So he's on the ground. Can I take his gun?
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Make whatever you've got, sleight of hand, dexterity, whatever you've got in that kind of the dexterity category that might help you get this while. And again, he's on the ground, but he's still writhing. So you're trying to take something out of a moving target's holster.
No comrades.
Yeah, you know, +1. Yeah, +1 because he's on the ground.
Okay.
Yeah, he's got it. It's you know, he has one of those secured in place clips, right? And until someone really holds him down, you're unable to actually get the gun out of the holster.
Okay.
That was one of your moves. You get two actions in combat. So that was.
And I want to try to.
You want to
try to kind of step on it. If he's on the ground, I kind of want to like step on the center of his back just to like try to pin him down flat if we can.
So make an unarmed combat attempt with a +2. Yeah.
No, I'm using one of my dice.
Do it, baby. Oh, you've got to be kidding me. Well, it is the good news for you. You could change out the 2 for that 1, and I'd allow it at this stage in the game, and just for shits and grins. You actually got a moment of low insight there because you got a double 1. So instead of switching out the 1 for a 1, switch out the 1 for a 2, and write down that you got an insight dice. Now, you can use that insight dice immediately, but you'd be rolling on 2 1s. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's a very low chance of success in reality.
Well, I mean, I rolled a 2 and a 1 before. I rolled a 1 and a 1, so yeah, fuck it. I'm gonna try it.
Do it, baby.
Go for broke.
All right, 4 + 4 is 8 + 1 is 9. You did it. You did it. Yeah. Nicely done. So you're able to kind of keep him in place. David has a go. I mean, like he will. He's lost his action for this round. So at least until the beginning of next round, at least you convince him to surrender, right? And we keep going in combat. For the remainder of this round, he's unable to do anything because you've put your knee in the back of his shoulder blades and he's kind of like forced to the ground after Marv's already thrown him on his head. David, sorry, go on.
The Derek Chauvin video, yeah. I'm not kidding. Sorry, that was a really tasteless joke. I apologize. That was bad.
What phrase did this guy use when he was rebuffing my bird?
I don't know. Why don't you fill in the gaps? I don't really remember. Why don't you have your Jean-Claude Van Damme moment? What would you say?
So who's the ridiculously retarded guy now, Laughing Boy? And I'll fling around the shotgun to the butt end. And sleepy, sleepy, night time.
All right, beautiful.
And put the butt in. So that will be a
melee attack.
Check.
Yeah, melee check, and you get plus
in
yeah, +3 at least.
Okay.
Are you fucking kidding me?
God.
So, is what you learned, because this is a moment of low insight.
No,
yeah.
No.
So, as
Get lost. I'm just re-rolling.
he twists his head, I'm going to narrate this anyway. He twists his head, the shotgun hits the concrete floor and goes off. So none of you are harmed, but suddenly Gus has ringing in his ears, and Marv has stopped laughing, is looking at you like you weak, sad old man, and suddenly, David, you feel every day of your 63 years. So feel free to re-roll one of those dice, but that has already happened in your mind at the very least.
6. Jesus Christ, yeah, I'm poor at this. This is... I'm just, actually, that's just going to have happened, but given I missed, I'll just go, you know.
You see what you made me did? That's what my grandfather used to say about everything.
I tore a putty cat.
Yeah, that kind of thing,
Here we go again. This time I will, I'll just go... I'll look at the gun and just go, they don't make them like they used to, and I use my boot instead.
Alright, so...
combat. Still +3.
So is this your second move? Like, what are you doing? What is...
Yeah.
Second, yeah. +3, yeah, +3. But I'm almost inclined to give you a -1. Oh, you got it, didn't you? You got a success. Oh, fuck you. Okay. I was about to give you a negative there, just like your ears are ringing, like everyone else's ears are ringing, but you already were successful. All right, so what were you trying to do? You batter him in the head. That was a melee attack, right? Or was that unarmed combat?
So I look at the gun and go, like it was the gun's fault that I missed, and then I'll put it beside me. I'll put it on the, I'll chuck it on the truck or whatever, and then just absolutely whoop him in the chops with my boot.
Okay, so so wait, were you saying you were hitting him with your what are you hitting him with?
I was hitting him with my gun, but now I'm just kicking him in the head
All
directly instead.
All right, so that was the unarmed combat attack. Was you hitting him in the head, correct?
Yeah.
You fucking sadist. All right, so man, hold on 1 second. I'm screwing this up. Trying to get this guy's character token. All right, so unarmed combat, beautiful. So roll 1d3 plus physicality plus unarmed combat mod, and a +1 because he's on the ground.
Right, so roll 1d3 plus physicality, which is massive because I'm like Rambo, and what?
+1 for just for him being on the ground.
Cool. 4.
All right, so you kick him into unconsciousness, right? And I actually don't know why he's vanished, but you kick him into unconsciousness. So what do you guys want to do now? So he's unconscious.
GM level. There you go.
Thank you, Matt. I couldn't actually select him. I was trying to get him on the GM level, but I couldn't select him. All right, thank you. So he is now fully unconscious on the ground, right? So the three of you look at each other. Again, your ears are all still ringing from David's shotgun having just gone off in your ears, but you're no longer in combat because the guy is unconscious. What are you going to do?
All right. Well, I'm taking his gun.
All right,
First
beautiful.
things first.
All right, so let's do this. So if you actually, we're kind of the end of the encounter, so you get to walk away with his gun, and he only had 2 bullets in there, right? And so that's part of the reason that he was trying to bluff his way through this, is at least is your guess, because he already didn't have enough ammo for all 3 of you anyway, right? So that's kind of your guess. So, all right, so you take his gun. What else do you want to do?
Tie him into the truck.
Tying him into the truck, you said?
Well, I'm tying him onto one of the back of the wheels of the truck.
Yeah, that wouldn't be difficult, and you can find enough. There's cable, there's rope, you can jerry-rig something in a heartbeat to be able to tie him up in a way that we wouldn't be able to get out of that, right? So, just as you finish, he starts coming to, right? And he starts to, he has blood running down his face from the head wounds and stuff. He comes to and he realizes he's kind of screwed, right? You're tying him up and he realizes he has no choice, or he has very few options. What are you guys up to?
I asked Marv if there was anything good in the mini mart.
Food. A lot of food. I didn't see much else.
All right, I'm gonna head back and just take as much of the food from there as I can. Start loading it into the truck.
So there's so make a scavenging roll, which is under acumen.
Okay.
And in fact, Marv, what are you doing as well? Because that's obviously what Gus is up to. What are you doing, Marv?
Looking around the workshop, is anything else of interest besides the arc welder in here?
Yeah, so make either a scavenge or a perception check, whichever is the highest you've got. All right, beautiful. So, Marv, you see the arc welder, but you also point out to the rest of the group, you're like, hey, there's a shit ton of stuff here, right? I mean, it looks like no one's been in this garage for forever, right? So you'd be able to find, like, toolkits, a bunch of other stuff, batteries. This really feels like Christmas morning, the more you kind of look around and the more you start loading things into David's truck. So what anyone doing anything different other than kind of like scavenging through? And kind of, you guys can move yourself around. Like, where are you and what are you doing at the moment?
David will go out the front because he recognizes that the guy must have got there in a vehicle of some sort. So will he realize that it's the bike?
If he goes over, yeah, I mean, it becomes like more and more apparent. Like, and maybe Marv tells you on your way out there. But you see what Marv saw, right? There's no grime, there's no dust. The keys are in the ignition. It looks like he was fueling it to leave now, right? And that's why it is.
Marv, you've got the keys, don't you?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I already grabbed them.
Yeah. So I'll look at the bike and say, oh man, I used to have one of these old suckers. It'd be nice to feel the wind through my hair again. Shame there's... check the body, see if there's any keys. Check our matey here. Oh, actually, since I tied him up, I better check him for make sure he's got no knife and stuff that he can cut the bonds.
Yeah, so you do find, as you're looking through, you do find a hunting knife, right? And it's kind of on the back of his belt, right? So it's not hidden by any means, right? But it looks like it's one of those horizontal ones, right? So it's neither here nor there. You're able to take that off him, so he really has nothing. But again, you did a good enough job of tying him up. It'd have to be Houdini to get out of this.
And he has no keys, and he has no anything else on him?
No, there's really nothing, right? And in this day and age, that doesn't feel too surprising or weird, right? There's just not a lot. He had a gun. Now, I say that, you know, Gus, who's a little bit further up, Gus, as you start heading up to where you are, you see what Marv saw earlier, right? You see that there are these, like a stack of stuff, right, on the counter over here. And in the full game, right, I'm on the wrong level, hold on. So in the counters over here, you're able to see like a stack of stuff next to his backpack. In the full game, like starvation and subsistence is a very real thing. So you have to track your rations and make sure you have enough food. So there's 5 rations in here, right? And a ration is enough for one person for one day, right? Enough kind of caloric intake. So you know basically what you found in here would keep you going on your own, Gus, for 5 days, but it will make enough meals for 2.5 days for 5 of you, in other words. But as you're also looking through the backpack, there's a walkie-talkie in there, right? So as you're kind of gathering this stuff and like figuring out what he's got in here, the walkie-talkie comes to life, right? And it comes on and a voice says, Nash, Benson, are you assholes back in range yet? So you know he's not on his own, right? So Gus, this thing comes into life as you're kind of like rooting through. What do you do?
I'm going to go ahead and rush outside and say, hey, we got to take off.
David and Marv, how are you responding to that? What are you taking from that?
David's disappointed that he can't take the bike because he can't find the bloody keys, but now they've got to go, so he's going to scramble over to the truck and he's going to quickly reverse it up so that you can just dump the arc welder in.
So as you guys are kind of humping the arc welder in there, this guy's, I mean, he's somewhere between begging and pleading and threatening and cajoling and trying everything he can think of to get you to let him out of this, right? And he's saying to you, you can't leave me like this. Like, this is basically a death sentence. If you just leave me here, what the fuck am I supposed to do? I'm just going to starve. Like, I'm just like, is that what you guys are trying to do?
And I say, that's absolutely correct. Are you Nash or are you Benson?
He looks at you and, like, I mean, he heard the walkie-talkie in there, and he just looks at you and he gives you, oh, fuck you, because he realizes that, like, you're onto him. You're not going to kind of let him go, so he's saving his breath now. So as you guys...
He walks past and he says he's neither, he's dead. Let's go.
I'm putting a bullet in his head with his gun.
Beautiful. All right, well, let's give the psycho an opportunity here. So... Gus, go over and make a ranged combat check with a +5 C mod.
Okay.
Yeah, so...
Hold on, I gotta look. Oh, range weapons +1.
Wait, was that Gus or was that Marv that said that? You said, like, Scott sounded like Alex, right? Alex sounded like Scott.
No, that was me.
That's what I thought. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm looking at the last skill check and it's scavenging. I thought that was my mistake. Yeah, you got a wild success. So I mean, it's literally the picture perfect bullet through the eyes, right? So you killed him. It deflates all of the tires in this thing as the bullet kind of passes through him in an almost comical way, right? Where you kind of, you kill this guy and you deflate this truck all at the same time. So the one bullet makes this thing kind of sink down, like still the air coming out. So he's dead. You have his stuff. You can take his bike. I'm not sure if Marv has told David yet that he has the keys, but he does have the keys. So you guys are able to take that bike if you want. And that is essentially...
I'll toss him the keys if he wants the bike. That's cool. One of us can drive the truck.
The old man wants to feel the wind in his hair. I love it. Which could also mean that Gus holds him down and farts on his head, right? That could also be the other way of him feeling the wind through his hair. So it depends kind of like how dark we want to end it. All right, so that's it, right? So you took care of this threat. You guys have got the arc welder, you've got a couple of extra days to supplies, but most of all, you've got kind of this ugly warning, right? I mean, this is just the way the world is going to be now, right? Like, you can't really trust anyone. Everyone's going to have their own motives, right? There's going to be a struggle to survive, and resources are going to be really rare, right? So even for things like an arc welder, this guy didn't want, you can make an argument. That's what Gus killed him over, right? So again, this is where the curtain falls, and we kind of like, you guys fade to black as you're driving back to the farm, but you've all got the same thoughts running through your head. Gus just fucking executed someone, and you executed him for an arc welder, and that's the new world you live in. Thank you. I appreciate you playing this evening.
Nice, yeah. As we drive back out of the conversation, I'm not mad, Gus, but I am disappointed. You know how hard bullets are to find anymore? You didn't have to waste it on that dude. We could have brained him.
Yeah. Good point. Say, I'm sorry, the heat of the moment.
Hey, well, here's the good news. You got 2 bullets from him. So, like, the way that you see it, Gus, you're still 50% up on the whole deal, and you got to have a good night out, you know? And you created a memory for your friends. Think about that positive way of thinking about it, you know?
Yeah.
Well, after this, excuse me, the long winter evenings will just fly by, I'm sure. The lesson there is don't take a drink of water as you're laughing at something funny that one of you just said. That's the lesson to take out of that. All right. Guys, thank you very much for playing. Scott, I know you have bedtime and you've got kids and you've got dinners, but if you've got either now or later any feedback on the system, on how it worked, any improvements, any things you didn't like, any things that you'd like to see in kind of future iterations, again, now or in the future in Slack, whatever, I'd love to hear them. Any feedback I can get from you guys just goes towards making this a better game.
Yeah, give me a little bit of time to ruminate on it. It was really fun, but I want to think about the nuts and bolts a little bit, and I can't do that effectively right now.
I totally get it. Well, look, Scott, like I said to you, I mean, this was really designed for like an hour-long, like 90-minute encounter. if at some point you'd like to get into another game of this, there is a proper 3-hour session called Chase that we can run. We also play on a Monday night, so getting you in and out of games wouldn't be difficult if you'd like to experience this more. And Tim, I've said this for a while, even though it's our first time playing together, open invite to any game for you for any game I'm ever running going forward.
Appreciate it.
Well, look, gents, thank you so much. I'm also going to get off and see my family who I've been ignoring for the last couple of hours. So, Tim, or Alex, I should say, Alex, Scott, Matt, and Matt, as always, thank you for being a co-conspirator and creating this. Thank you all so much. This was really good fun. I shall speak to you all soon.